Hello, hello, and welcome to the Dr. Toomer Talk Show. I'm Dr. Toomer, and I have a question for you. If you had the opportunity to ask a doctor anything about health, wellness, or weight loss, and you could ask whether it's about GLP-1s, menopause, stress, fatigue, sleep, insomnia, whatever it is, if you had that opportunity, then stay tuned. If you wanted that opportunity, then stay here because that's what we're doing tonight. This is the first Tuesday of the month, and every first Tuesday of every month, I, Dr. Toomer, answer questions from anyone who has them. So if you're here for the first time, let me know. If you're here at all, just say, let me know your name and where you're listening from. And if you're listening later, just put in hashtag replay. Let me know where you're listening. Hello, Cindy from New Mexico. Thank you for coming. So for those of you who are here for the first time, listening for the first time, either on LinkedIn or Facebook or YouTube, I'm Dr. Catherine Toomer. I'm a family medicine and community health physician, and I am the founder of Total Weight Care Institute. And what Total Weight Care Institute is a place where people who want to lose weight, whether that weight is in pounds or whether it is something in life that's weighing them down, then they can come to me and I help them lose it. So if you have questions, now's the time to ask them. If not, I'll just start talking and telling you things that are important to know about health and wellness. Well, I do get emails, and I have gotten a few emails because I offer people to send me emails with questions. My email is help@drtoomer.com. I'm going to put it in the comments. And so sometimes people will send me questions there because they want to send them anonymously, and that's fine. I really don't mind. But they do have personal questions that they'd like answered. One of the most common questions I get asked really is about the safety of the long-term effects and the safety of GLP-1 medications. And what GLP-1 medications are glucagon-like protein, and they are medications that were initially developed for diabetes, but we know that weight gain often is related to metabolic status. We know this. We know that there's a genetic component that allows some people to eat whatever they want and their body does not make fat from it. And we have other people who are genetically predisposed to be very efficient at making fat out of the food they eat. And the thing that causes that is a chronic metabolic condition. Well, so is diabetes. So there are disease states that start what we call subclinically. They don't show up on any tests, but your body is acting like it's there. And then it keeps getting worse and worse and worse and eventually becomes diabetes. So it starts as insulin resistance, then it becomes pre-diabetes, and then diabetes. And there's lots of different reasons why this happens and what triggers that gene to turn on and start acting like the body is diabetic. Well, that's the reason that diabetic medications help with weight loss. They're not really weight loss medications. They are chronic metabolic correctors. And in correcting the metabolic dysregulation, they cause weight loss. And so weight loss is actually a side effect of the medication. And now it is the purpose for some reason, for some people to take it, but it's actually a side effect. Hello, Marcia from Barbados. Thank you for joining. So again, get your questions ready. Put them in the chat. I will see them and I'll answer them. If you are unable to put questions in now, you can put the questions in later and I will come back and I get the notifications and I will answer those questions. And so just talking about GLP-1s and long-term effects. So they are designed to be used for the rest of your life because most people cannot reverse their diabetes. Now, I have actually gone from being an insulin-dependent diabetic, and I did reverse my diabetes temporarily. So what actually happened is that I started focusing on getting my blood sugar under control. And in getting my blood sugar under control, I did lose some weight. That overall health improvement meant that I could come off insulin. Then later, I was able to come off all medications. But that only lasted for a little while because over time, I got closer and closer to menopause. And so my metabolic status started to change. And so what happened is that I was put on a GLP-1 medication 14 years ago. So yeah, they've been out for quite some time. They're not new. And as a result, the heart condition that I have was improved. My weight also improved. My metabolic status improved. My diabetes improved. Everything just improved. And that was Victoza. Then when Ozempic came out, which was even a better medication, then which is the one everybody heard about, and then Manjaro. And so, yes, they are designed to be long term. They are designed to treat the metabolic issues that many people are walking around with. And unfortunately, in medicine, we only check for diabetes and we tell people, well, if you're not diabetic, you're fine. When in fact, for the 10 years leading up to diabetes is actually a problem. People gain weight very, very easily from food. So EA asks, is someone less metabolically compromised if they lose a lot of weight on less milligrams of GLP-1 than someone who needs more to lose weight? No, not necessarily. In fact, it's usually the opposite. Someone is more metabolically compromised often, and so when it's corrected, they actually end up losing more weight. Actually, let me wait. Is someone less metabolically compromised if they lose a lot of weight on less? So I guess the question is, does the dose matter on whether it acts very well or not? And does the amount of weight you have to lose matter? So I'm assuming that somewhere in there you're going to get your answer. So the dose only matters because it is dose dependent for any individual. Some people need very little. Some people can use quite a bit. It really just depends on how much of your weight gain was caused by a metabolic issue. And not everybody's weight gain is caused by the same reason they have a metabolic issue. Sometimes it's genetics, sometimes it's age, sometimes it's menopause, sometimes it's high stress, sometimes it's low muscle. And so it really just depends. Now, someone's metabolic status, their response to the medication largely is due to how much muscle mass you have. So the more muscle mass you have, usually the faster and the better the medication works. So that's why I always say if you're on a GLP-1 and you build muscle, it makes it work better and you don't need as much. So there is no comparison. It just, there's no comparison about the amount of medication that's used. One's not better than the other. It also depends on what type of GLP-1 is used as to the dose. And then again, past history matters. If someone was a yo-yo dieter, they're more likely to have lost quite a bit of muscle. And so if you've lost a bit of muscle, that affects your metabolism. When your metabolism is affected, a lot of things get thrown off. Because metabolism and metabolic, as you can tell from the root word, are tied together. Did that answer your question? I hope so. All right. Thank you for it, because it was a good question. Long time listener, first time live. Oh, yay. Well, welcome, Diane. If you have any questions, just let me know. If you think of something later after we're done, you can always just put it after the video, or you can email me at help@drtoomer.com, which I put in the comments. So the other question I get a lot about is, what if you don't fit the criteria for the medication? Oh, good. You don't fit the criteria for the medication. So basically, the FDA has said that the only criteria for the use of GLP-1s is having a BMI over 30 or a BMI of 27 and above if you have some secondary obesity related illness. So basically cardiovascular disease usually. Um, and that's for the, or you have diabetes. Now, so there's two different ways you can use the medication. One is diabetes, and that is if your hemoglobin A1C, which we use to check for diabetes, is 6.5 or higher. So as you can see, it's very limited in how insurance will pay for it, if at all. So the problem is that there's lots of reasons that people have metabolic dysregulation: polycystic ovary syndrome, menopause, stress, pre-diabetes, pre-diabetes. And there's all these different things that can cause all sorts of health issues that don't fit the criteria for the medication. So what do you do if you need it and you can't get it through your insurance? That's where compounded meds come in. Now, I know that there's a lot of discussion around compounded meds. A lot of people don't trust them. I am one of those people. Now, I don't trust all compounds because they're not regulated. However, if you have a doctor who has a trusted compounded pharmacy, then that's the way to go. One, it's also less expensive and it can be just as effective. I know it's just as effective because I use compounded meds all the time for people who've lost access to their brand medication or who cannot afford their brand medication and who clearly have a metabolic issue. Any other questions? Or I'll go to the emails. Okay. So the other emails I have is about hormone and hormone replacement in menopause. So when I talk about menopause, I also talk about manopause, because men lose their hormones just like women lose their hormones. Now, it's interesting. Both men and women lose testosterone. Now, most people don't know this, but women have more testosterone in their body than estrogen. We just don't have as much as men have. When we lose our testosterone, we lose our libido, all interest in sex. When we lose our estrogen, we lose our protective mechanism of estrogen, which essentially protects our brain from dementia, our heart from heart disease. It also protects our vaginal lining from thinning so that we don't get urinary tract infections. And then you have progesterone, which usually is more like the well-being stuff. It stops the hot flashes, it stops the insomnia and the rest. One of the big misconceptions about hormone replacement is that they cause cancer. Now, there are certain cancers that are hormone sensitive, and but the actual connection between hormones and breast cancer has been debunked. We know this, but the connection between hormone replacement and longevity has been proven, and so we know that hormones help with reducing dementia, reducing heart disease, and reducing weight gain. Now, once you've gained the weight during menopause, hormones will not make you lose them because it's now a metabolic issue. So metabolic correctors like GLP-1s will reduce the weight gain. And the reason that we gain weight during menopause is because as our estrogen goes down, our cortisol, which is the stress hormone, stays unopposed. Stress hormone, cortisol, causes insulin resistance. Insulin resistance is the most common reason why people gain weight. It is cortisol is a metabolic disruptor. And that is why when using a GLP-1 in small doses along with hormone replacement, it not only stops weight gain, it also reverses it. Now, there are other ways of reversing weight gain that does not require medication, and that is by building muscle. Muscle is our metabolic powerhouse of our body. So as long as you build muscle, it does a couple of things. It increases your metabolism, it improves your metabolic status, and stops you from gaining weight. And the other is that it helps your mobility later in life. Muscle helps with balance and it helps with strength. And when you have balance and strength, you need less assistance as you get older. And so the difference between being bedbound, wheelchair bound, unable to move, unable to interact with people, largely depends on how much muscle you build now and build and maintain. And the way you build muscle is through resistance training, which also includes Pilates. which is a more gentle way of building muscle, and by eating enough protein. Protein becomes muscle, and if you don't eat enough protein in your diet, around 100 grams of protein a day, your muscle doesn't have the building blocks it needs to build. So the combination of resistance training to build plus protein, because you need the building blocks to build it, and that's essentially how you maintain muscle, you maintain metabolism, and you improve your metabolic status. And so that is the best way to prevent weight gain, and for some people to get weight loss. So, any other questions? Okay, let me go to my emails. I should have pulled them up again. Some of them I pulled up, and then I have them in a couple of different places. Hold on. Let's see here. Let's see. Oh, goodness. Sorry about that. I thought I had it right pulled up. Okay. So the other question I had was about insomnia. And so basically what insomnia is one of two things. Either it is your inability to fall asleep or your inability to stay asleep. And so the combination of either one is what is considered insomnia. Often the easiest way of dealing with insomnia is one to get evaluated by a sleep specialist. Sometimes it's sleep apnea, and so you have to get a sleep study for that. Sometimes it is emotional, so it could be stress or depression or anxiety that can cause it. And then sometimes it's hormonal, so going through menopause or menopause can do it. And so hormone replacement can often help. Getting therapy, or finding out the cause of your stress and the emotional reason why you can't sleep is the other. And that would be, either medication, therapy, or both, or just or using exercise as a way of reducing anxiety, stress, and depression. So long, sustained, regular, low impact exercise. So Pilates, walking, swimming, that sort of thing. I do have a question. Can a shingles vaccine interfere with Mounjaro? My doctor raised my dose to 5 milligrams right after my second vaccine 6 weeks ago, and my weight loss just stopped. And I am now fatigued and lightheaded. That is something you need to talk to your doctor about. So because the shingles vaccine is usually one that triggers your body to produce antibodies against shingles. So that way, okay, let me just explain what shingle is first. So if you've had chickenpox at any point in your life, the chickenpox vaccine stays in your nerve endings, or that stays in your nerves, and it just sits there dormant. So when at certain points in your life later, either because your immunity drops, you get older, there's all sorts of reasons, stress can do it. Anything that drops your immunity, age, stress, medications, other viruses, so can trigger shingles representing itself. It's usually not whole body. It's on what we call a dermatome. So it's like a strip coming from your spine. The most dangerous place, though, to get shingles is in this area because it can cause blindness. And so that's why we recommend getting shingles vaccines to prevent that from happening, because there are some danger zones for shingles. GLP-1s will reduce inflammation, and it will, but the connection between its dose and stopping weight loss is not something that I'm familiar with, so I cannot tell you that. However, raising your dose of medication, and if your weight loss stops from that, usually it's because of appetite suppression. So if you're not eating enough calories, you are going to be fatigued and you are going to be lightheaded, and your weight loss is going to stop because Once your brain thinks you're starving, it shuts everything down. Our brain is designed to keep us from being eaten, which is our fight or flight response, and the other is to keep us from starving, which is our hunger response. The medications can actually suppress that hunger response. And so if you don't eat enough calories, it can cause your brain to say you're starved, think you're starving, and most likely you are. And then it will slow your metabolism and it will stop any further weight loss. So usually what I recommend when something like this happens is to start eating more. Make sure, pay attention to how much you're eating and make sure you're eating enough. But I would still report this to your doctor. Anytime you have symptoms and you're on a medication, you should always talk to your physician about it. Always. Because it's something that needs to be monitored. The other thing that causes fatigue and lightheadedness on the medication is dehydration often. When we drop our appetite, we also drop drinking fluids. And so if you get dehydrated, then definitely lightheadedness and fatigue can happen. The other thing, though, can happen if you get too dehydrated is your kidneys start to shut down. And that's one of the dangers of the medication. You don't want to have kidney problems from not drinking enough fluids. So, yes, talk to your physician. The other thing that also happens the medications do is they drop blood pressure. So if you're on blood pressure medications or you already have relatively low blood pressure and you're on a higher dose, it could be that it's dropped your blood pressure, which will also make you tired and also make you lightheaded. And it will also stop your weight loss because generally when our blood pressure is low, it also goes along with our low energy and we don't tend to move much. And so that also can affect weight loss. So, yeah, but 6 weeks is quite a long time not to have any weight loss on a medication that was working before. That I'm assuming that you had some weight loss before and then it stopped. Talk to your doctor. That's the best thing. Would it be safe to add a second weight loss medication while taking a GLP-1? Let's say weight loss has stalled at the highest dose and perhaps an additional med might help. If you are, that's assuming you're doing all the other pillars, you're maintaining all the other pillars of weight loss. That means that you're building muscle, that you're getting enough fluid, that you're getting enough sleep, that you're eating enough calories, and you are managing your stress. If you're doing all those things, then there could be some other maybe your metabolic, chronic metabolic dysregulation has not been corrected by the medication. And therefore, yes, you may need a second medication, but not necessarily a weight loss medication. So when you say a second weight loss medication, what do you mean? Definitely, you do not take 2 GLP-1s at the same time. The other is if you're already stalling because of low calories, you don't want another appetite suppressant, which would be phentermine or Adipex. And so you have to find the cause. Why are you not losing any more weight? Is it because, one, your body doesn't want you to because you don't need to be healthy? Were your goals realistic to begin with? Were your expectations appropriate for your height? So, there's lots of different questions to be asked to determine. But usually what I do when someone has stalled and they need, and it's not because it's not about weight loss. It's about correcting a health condition. So when you correct a health condition, your body follows. And so you have to figure out why your body is not following a healthy pattern. And if it's not following a healthy pattern, you need to find out what that health disruptor is. And when you find the health disruptor, then you address it. And that's how you break a stall. And also, what is really a stall? Because I hear stalls all the time. And then I find out if it's under 90 days, it's not a stall. Sometimes it's just your body just holding pattern until it, hits homeostasis and it's just like, okay, I'm my new set point, and then it starts to lose again. Because weight loss is not linear. it's kind of like this, and then it's stalled, and you do this, and then you know, that's what weight loss really is. So, um, muscle mass and water could be the problem. Muscle mass is prime. If you're not building muscle, it is the problem. You have to do muscle work. Otherwise, because the medication, if you take the medication and you're not eating enough protein, you can actually start losing muscle, and it defeats the whole purpose. So if you're not eating enough protein, and then of course, you know, water, you need that while you're working out. But muscle is the, like I said, it is the metabolic powerhouse of our body. And the second metabolic powerhouse of our body is our brain. So you have to make sure your brain's right and your body's right for the medication. It needs some place to work. It doesn't work in a vacuum. Does that answer your question? I hope so. Wow, time went fast. It's already 25 minutes. Try to keep these under 30 minutes if I can. So if you have any more questions, oh, Marsha asked a question. I didn't even see it. Can Diavan Valsartan cause mood swings? It depends. So this is the thing. If you didn't have a problem, you start the medication and then you start having mood swings, then it could be the medication. If you start having mood swings after having been on the medication already, then it's something else. Usually when you're on a medication and you've been on it for a while and something new starts to happen, it is caused by something else. The most common causes of mood swings are stressors. The second most common is hormonal changes. The other is, and usually stressors and hormonal changes go hand in hand. Food can do it. Sugar, blood sugar can definitely cause mood swings. Thyroid issues can cause mood swings. So if all those things have been checked and all those things are normal and everything in your life has remained the same, then, you know, possibly the medication, but I wouldn't automatically blame the medication. If, and if it does cause mood swings, usually it would be because your blood sugar is dropping, and not blood sugar, sorry, your blood pressure is dropping. And if your brain's not getting enough oxygen for whatever reason, either a prior mild stroke or something else, of course, that's something you would talk to your doctor about. So, as you can tell, you know, I'm family medicine, so I kind of have, this is what we do. We look at all the reasons, all the things that are happening, and we try to find a reason that all those things make sense. We're puzzle fixers. You know, we're puzzle solvers. And so, you know, when someone asks me questions, I usually respond with more questions because that's usually what it takes in order to get to the bottom of what's going on. I hope that answered your question, Cindy. So, but always, 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 when you have a medical question and you think, should I ask my doctor? The answer is always yes. If you're in a situation and you're getting scared and you're thinking, is this something I need to get checked? The answer is always yes. If you are on a new medication and, you know, anything happens, you start having symptoms, tell your doctor. They need to know. They like to document those things. They don't like being blindsided because sometimes it can be serious and sometimes it could be just something mild, but you don't know if it's the beginnings of something serious. And sometimes the beginnings of serious things are mild until they're not. So always report things, at the very least, report it to your physician's nurse so it can be documented and they can get back to you if it's something that you should be concerned about. Okay. So got a few more seconds before we hit the 30-minute mark. Any other questions? Again, if you have questions later and you think about something and you can either put your questions after the video or any of my videos actually. So hi, Denise. It's okay. So this is what you can do. You can watch the replay. You can ask me any questions you have. If you have one right now, I can answer it. But if you can ask me questions after the video, and I will respond. You can send it to me as an email at help@drtoomer.com, and I will respond. And you can also subscribe to my YouTube channel. Share my videos with your friends and family. For those who may, you can go through my videos and see the information that's there, and share it with people who might be able to use it, and have them subscribe to my channel as well. I do appreciate all of you who have. I now have over 1,000 subscribers, so I'm very happy about that. But mainly because I really like to get this information out. So if you feel this is helpful, subscribe. If you feel that others can utilize this information, then share it with them. So how do I get rid of hormonal belly after losing a lot of weight? Honestly, okay, depends on how you lost the weight. If you lost the weight without correcting your metabolic status, then you're not going to lose your stomach. You've got to you have to get rid of a hormonal belly, assuming that it is a hormonal belly, because pregnancy is a hormonal belly also, and that's a little different. That's a whole nother ballgame, because pregnancy also causes insulin resistance. That's why we check for diabetes. Causes chronic metabolic issues, and sometimes those issues don't go away once babies are born. So if you've ever been pregnant and your stomach has never gone back to where it was, that could be the reason. It may get worse as you go through menopause, but the menopause is not the cause. The only way to lose belly is correct the cause of it, which means replacing hormones and maximizing metabolic status, which would mean stress management, muscle building, and hormone replacement. And that's it. And if it's still there and you don't like it, you can name it and be like, yeah, that's me. I just accept my stomach for what it is. Or it requires a procedure to remove, either liposuction or a abdominoplasty, which is basically commonly called a tummy tuck. So, but I personally, my biggest the process I tout the most is acceptance, because honestly, as we get older, we're not always supposed to have a flat stomach as we get older, especially as life changes, as things happen. Mine came when I had children, and so that's the I guess not, I wouldn't say the price I paid. I would say it's the privilege I have of having had children, is the stomach that was left behind. So, Burns asked, lost weight with Mounjaro, lifestyle changes, I'm postmenopausal. Okay. So usually, if you're postmenopausal and you are already on a GLP-1, assuming that you're on the maximum dose, assuming that you've lost all the weight you should or could lose, then the only other thing is muscle building, and then muscle will use up muscle and stress management. If those things don't change it, then it's like I said, it's either acceptance or surgery. Those are the only two other options. Cindy said, I so look forward to these Tuesday chats. Have a good week, everyone. Thank you for coming, Cindy. I really appreciate you being here. Vern, I hope that answered your question. But if you want, we can, you can email me if you have more questions about that, or if you want to give me more details, so I can kind of help you get to the bottom of what actually would help the most. Okay. Well, it's 34 minutes. So you're welcome. So thank you for coming again. Share, like, put the thumbs up, share with family members, subscribe if you haven't already. And I will see you again here next Tuesday at 6 p.m. Eastern. And I realized I forgot to bring my video up again. So I don't have my little drum beats at the end. I will remember next week. I promise. All right. Good night, everybody.